Goeiedag, mijn naam is Evan, ex-immigratieprocureur hier in Amerika, en ik wil jou helpen om immigratiewet te verstaan. Now, if you've been following the news, you may have noticed that yesterday President Trump put out a Truth Social post where he said that he was directing as Commander-in-Chief the military might of the United States to launch attacks against ISIS terrorist scum in northwest Nigeria. And all of the major news outlets are now saying, and as of right now it's December 26th at around 10 in the morning Louisiana time, that these airstrikes have actually begun. Why has the president ordered this to happen? Because these ISIS terrorist cells were targeting, and as President Trump said, slaughtering Christians. And now he's going to make them pay. And under his administration, he is never going to allow radical Islamic terrorism to prosper. So why is this a big deal? Why am I discussing it on this channel? Because South Africa, if the regering van South Africa does not pay attention to President Trump's demands and his warnings about what will happen if the South African regering fails to kowtow to what we're demanding here, the same will probably happen and will come to fruition in South Africa as well. Because as you may remember, President Trump also put a Truth Social post a little while ago where we did not send a representative to South Africa because South Africa is slaughtering Afrikaners and other ethnic minorities in the country. And so we're taking a stand against that. And one of the important things that has to be noted here is South Africa and Nigeria. You know, Nigeria and South Africa, they're both developing countries. So they're both around the same level of development as far as the international community is concerned. And I believe, even though South Africa has the largest economy on the continent, followed by Egypt, I think Nigeria is in a close third. So when we're talking about, the ability of the United States to wage military operations within a country on the continent of Africa, there's not a whole lot of difference between the ability to wage a military operation in Nigeria and to wage one in South Africa. So to be aloof, to pretend that, spiting the United States is something that will continue to happen without repercussions is simply nonsense. And President Trump is not going to allow the slaughter of Christians or Afrikaners or any ethnic minority on the continent to continue to happen. And this is made clear by the airstrikes that are now taking place in Nigeria against ISIS operatives there. So South Africa, continue to do what you're doing. Continue to allow idiots like Malema and the EFF and racialized communist socialist lunatics chant for and call for the genocide and extermination of a peoples, and see what's going to happen to you. And in the last video that I made where I said that it's frankly time to look back into recolonization as a way to fix failed states, because it's inhumane of us to continue to allow governments to prosper or to continue to attempt to govern when they fail at governing, and the people are the true victims of that failed governance. It goes against our moral duty as the most powerful country in the world to do nothing and to stand back. And while we hear major political figures in South Africa call for the extermination of Afrikaners, we're not going to sit back here and do nothing. And also, it needs to be said that in that video where I talk about recolonization and the duty of the United States to do such a thing in a country like South Africa, it's not just for South Africa. It's for the benefits of the United States as well. And to spread American culture and ideas and Western concepts of democracy and liberalism and republicanism and all of these great things that have made this culture perhaps the greatest culture the world has ever known, and made the greatest nation the world has ever known accessible to the world. And that's what South Africa needs, and that's the protection that Afrikaners need and other ethnic minorities will receive if the United States were to do such a thing in South Africa. So I'm not just advocating for military strikes, because if you're going to have groups like the EFF and militant groups in South Africa prepare and train for the extermination and genocide of Afrikaners and other ethnic minorities, they are no better than ISIS operatives slaughtering Christians in Nigeria. And to think that South Africa is somehow different or in a way impervious to airstrikes or military action from the United States, while Nigeria is foolishness. So continue to believe that and, fudge around and find out and see what happens. But the benefits for the United States, as an Amerikaner, as I sit here, South Africa occupies a critical geopolitical position on major global shipping routes and on the continent of South Africa. It produces mineral wealth and industrial potential that is currently underutilized and squandered because of corruption and mismanagement in the ANC. What could those resources and minerals and industrial capacity do for the United States and do for the people of South Africa if it was actually managed by capable managers and capable governance? So another reason why the United States should step in and consider this concept of the recolonization. A stabilized South Africa, one that is not overridden by illegal immigration, socialist, communist, racist groups like the EFF and frankly the ANC, political corruption and crime, a stable South Africa would serve as a reliable regional anchor for the entire continent. So there's so much to be gained, not just from people in South Africa, but in the United States as well. The U.S. administration under President Trump would be able to, take wasted potential trade, investment, and long-term economic partnerships and turn it into something that would benefit the people of the country as a whole. So it's obscene to think that South Africa should continue under the failed governance system that it's on right now. And this concept of recolonization, of, agreed to and partnership in this process of turning failed states into legitimate functioning world players, members of a global economy, a global political system where all people will benefit and true Western ideas, cultures, and values will be spread and all people will benefit from it, is really the goal here. But when you compare the two tweets, and I still call them tweets even though it's truth or whatever it is, there is no difference from President Trump's actions in Nigeria and what could possibly happen with South Africa. So South Africa, and the government there continue to spite the United States and see what happens. We are not going to let innocent people be slaughtered and killed because of your political perversions, your ideology, this racist, socialist, communist garbage, the same way we're not going to let radical Islamic terrorism spread throughout the continent of Africa. So this is another, point showing us of how close we are to actual action from the United States if South Africa continues to go down this path of allowing Afrikaners and other ethnic minorities to be persecuted in South Africa. So just food for thought to throw it out there as the bombs now start to fall in Nigeria and ISIS targets there. Because if the President Trump was clear, if the government's not going to do it, if the government's not going to be able to control it, then we're going to step in because we're not going to let innocents get hurt. It is a parallel to South Africa. If the government is not going to step in and stop the persecution of Afrikaners, what's the next step? What's the next step? To find, target, and exterminate the groups that are causing this persecution. And if that happens to be the government itself, well, so be it. Then we'll take the appropriate action. So keep an eye on the news, continue to watch the developments in Nigeria, and let's see how this possibly develops in South Africa itself. So as always, remember to like, subscribe, share, and I'll see you for the next video.